Welcome into our lives.
And welcome to the Expanders Club podcast.
We're so happy to have you.
Join us as we embark on a journey of deep exploration, soul searching, and asking the hard questions.
With the goal of truly understanding the most aligned, empowered, and purposeful versions of ourselves.
We want to live an extraordinary life, and we're willing to dig deep to find out what it takes.
Buckle up. You're about to meet a new version of yourself, an extraordinary one.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Oh, pretty well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm on a little bit of like a energetic roller coaster at the moment, feeling a little tired today, but we had our first Expanders Club meeting last night, and it was incredible. And for those of you who don't know, Expanders Club actually started as this idea around a community, and we've kicked off a community with 8 incredible women, and we met for the first time last night. It took a little extra energy for me because no one knows. I know everyone, but no one else knows each other. So that first, and it's over Zoom. So there's the delay. You're not in person. But it's a little extra energy for me, just filling the awkward moments of a bunch of people meeting for the first time. But it was really cool. It was really fun. People freaking showed up and, bared their heart, which is what it's all about, going deep and supporting each other, and something that I've been working up to for a while. So it felt really good. Felt good to have the first one on the books. Yeah.
Oh, they're so powerful. Love that. A safe space for people to share. So inspirational.
Yeah, thank you. Are you feeling recovered from Cabo?
Good God. I cannot drink anymore. And that is just the truth. I mean, and people will learn soon, I'm not a big drinker anymore. This party girl does not do this anymore. And we really pushed the boat out. I mean, a bachelorette in Cabo, you've kind of just got to lean in. And
first of all, pushed the boat out. I have never heard that expression, and I love it.
Yeah, that's one. That's you get the gist, right?
Push the boat out. I get it.
You push the boat out, and it went out far, and it was not easy to bring back in.
And then you lit that shit on fire.
That shit blew up. It got out of control. It was so fun. It was just one of those times where you just let loose, you don't care, had a great time, and felt absolutely shocking the next day. But this has been a 3 to 4 day struggle.
Recovery. Yeah.
You're
not in your 20s anymore, babe.
I'm not in my 20s anymore. That's like a once a year ordeal. I tell you what, it's just not it anymore. So yeah, safe to say I've been struggling to get my head in the game. I've been forcing myself to get up and do movement in the mornings and get back into it. I'm hoping I'll be human again tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, it was all worth it. Bachelorette party for your roomie and BFF, in Cabo, you got to let loose. You kind of go into it knowing it's going to be what it is.
I would only do
wild
this
time
for Alicia, of all people. Yeah, it was so good. And the Aussie girls came over from Australia for it. That's dedication. I'm sure I can get involved.
Love that.
All right, well, I guess we should get into it.
Yes. So excited for this one.
Our first guest.
And
we've just been rambling. The two of us. It's time to bring someone else in, bring some more excitement in.
Yes, and Eric is incredible. He's someone that I've been working with for a few months and has changed my life, the information he shared. And that's why we wanted to bring him in as numero uno, to give you guys a glimpse into what he does and how the information he can share and provide really can be a game changer. And he's just a gem of a human too, isn't he?
He's a good person. He has great energy. As soon as you meet him, you just feel like so lit up and want to listen to him because he's so educated in his field. And he's done this for a long time. And so interesting the way he combines, and I'll go into this, astrology, human design, numerology, gene keys, and astrocartography, which, I mean, I hadn't heard of half of those. But the way that he explains it and researched each of these modalities for you as an individual, he looks at yours and finds your blueprint. He calls it your operating agreement. And this is like helping you find your life purpose and your, where you should be at in your career, your relationships, help with money, or so much direction based around all of these, bringing them all together.
Yeah, and we touch on, astrology is the one that I'm most comfortable in or have the best understanding of. And so we touch a little bit more on that than the other modalities. But in this episode, we get into some things that you guys may not have heard of: the Chiron, the North Node, the South Node, a couple things that have just been, for me, like massively awakening to understand what those are, what those look like in my own blueprint, what they mean, and, how to work through them. And a lot of it is just like really validating. It's like, who couldn't use an operating manual to get through life? Like, hell, I could have used, like, I needed this about 20 years ago. How much easier could things have been? But I'm getting it now. And I guess that's when the universe thinks I needed it the most. So here we are, but really excited to share his skills with all of you.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Get into it, guys. There's a lot to learn. I certainly learned a lot, and I'm going to be learning a lot when I meet with him next weekend.
Ooh, you have to keep us posted on all the things that you learn.
I hope he tells me all the things I want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Without further ado, here is Eric from the Unlock Method. We hope you guys enjoy this one.
Enjoy.
Hello.
Wow. The hair, Brooke. The pink hair is freaking incredible.
She's here.
She's here. The
She's
Aquarian
back.
age Brooke is in the house.
Dude, I am so ready and I'm so giddy for this upcoming transition.
I love it. Well, we're right on time because the big transition of Pluto into Aquarius is happening today and tomorrow, this weekend, so couldn't be more perfectly timed.
Yes, can you? And so this episode will be coming out a few weeks after this big transition, but can you tell us a little bit about it?
Of course. So this is one of the biggest transits in all of astrology that's happening for our generation. Pluto is a generational planet. It takes 248 years to transit around the zodiac. So it has now been, yeah, I know. It's been in Capricorn for the last 15 years. So what Pluto is the archetypes of power, sex, death, rebirth, transformation, intimacy. Ultimately, what it does is it shows us our fears. It shows us where we are blocked. It shows us our trauma, our karma. So ultimately, what it's doing is allowing us to step into our full power. So we've just been dealing with that in Capricorn for the last 15 years. It is moving. Yeah.
Dude, wait, let's stop there for a second because
Okay.
What the fuck has been going on for me, probably the last 5 years or so. But what can you just like validate for a second some of the things people might have been feeling so that we can just take a moment and feel good about what we're leaving behind?
100%. So in the macro, because it will affect us all collectively and there will be macro themes, but it will also affect us in the micro and on the individual based on our own chart and where that shows up. But on the macro, it's Capricorn rules like power structures, government, business, finance. So as we've seen over the last 15 years, because it started in 2008 when it was the start of that recession and financial crash. And obviously, as we've been seeing over the last 15 years, so much turmoil in terms of governments and people being unhappy with the government and systems that we used to have such faith in have been questioned. So those are the themes on the macro. Also in macro in our own lives, it's like, what are the structures and the foundations of our life? And are they working or are they not working? For me personally, I have a Capricorn moon and I have it right on my IC, which is the point in the chart, which is like also related to the emotions, inner world foundations, ancestry, family. And so it's been 15 years of kind of a review of all of those things. So it's been wild. It's been wild. Yeah.
Yes, it's gotten intense. And my understanding, if I'm correct, is we're heading into like a lighter energy. And I feel it already. I feel
Yes.
like, I mean, I've been doing a lot of work the past year. I think a lot of us have, but it already feels lighter and like you can just take a little bit of a breath. Like the weight of the world isn't exactly on your shoulders or your back as much anymore.
Yes, 100%. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which is also quite a heavy placement. Saturn is karma, time, lessons, discipline, mastery. So it was a heavy transit. It was a very heavy transit. And it really peaked in 2020 when there was a Saturn Pluto conjunction. And so that's why I say 15 years, but also in the last 5 years has also been particularly intense because that's when we saw the start of the COVID pandemic. And then truly like all of the issues that we were already dealing with were amplified times 100 because of that
the
transit
universe
right
was
there.
like, oh shit, I only have a few more years to like really hammer home these lessons for you guys.
Exactly.
Let's
And
go
we
into
are at the
overdrive.
cusp. Yeah, we are in the cusp right now of coming into Pluto and Aquarius, which will be a lot later. Aquarius is an air sign. Automatically, that's less heavy than a Saturn ruled Earth sign. It's also co-ruled by Uranus, which is like innovation, progressive energy, creativity, inspiration. So it will be more interesting and it will be lighter. It could be quite wild. Could be quite a wild ride, as we're already seeing with all of these beautiful individual expressions that we're seeing with the pink hair and everything that's happening. Like I can't wait to see what's going to happen. It's going to be super interesting. Yeah.
Yes. I think it feels like an exciting time for the curious, the free, the people, those willing to challenge the norms, and the people who've done the work or done some of the work and are ready to show up and do more.
Yeah, 100%. That couldn't be more spot on. Yeah.
This is it, guys. This is our year.
This is our year. Well, Maddie, being the good Virgo Sun, Virgo Mercury, Capricorn that I am, I have both of your blueprints pulled up and was taking a look at them before the recording. And Maddie, you're a Aquarius rising with an Aquarius North node. So this transit will profoundly impact you in a really beautiful way. Like all of these Aquarian energies and archetypes that you have within you will be even more amplified. So exciting time for you personally
Been
as well.
waiting for this moment.
Yeah.
My life is about to take a turn for the best.
Well,
Yeah.
and that actually is kind of the energy, or at least the work that I've been doing and what's been showing up for me is like, hey, everything before has been building up to this and has been giving you the lessons, the strength, the courage, the knowing to really be grounded in who you are and where you want to go. Because now it's like, we're off to the races, baby.
100%. And that's why I do the work that I do. You know what I mean? Part of my whole modus operandi is that I really want people to find who they uniquely are on an individual, authentic level, find their unique purpose, and so they can live in alignment, live in joy with confidence and kind of move forward in that way. So
Yeah, and let's back up a little bit, Eric, because I'm so excited for you and Maddie to connect and for you to share your gifts with Maddie, but to share you with our community. And like, honestly, I tell anyone who is willing to have a spiritual conversation with me, I tell them about you. So if your ears are ever ringing, it's me. It's me. It's me talking about you.
Raves.
I so appreciate it, and I've connected with a few of your people, your community, your friends already, and they've all just been such incredible people as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. Well, you and
Yeah.
I have been working together for a few months. And so for those listening that are new to Eric and his work, Eric is the founder of the Unlock Method. I'll let him fully describe it, but what I would say about my journey and my time with Eric is Eric and his work, we've been working together for a few months, and it has opened me up in a very different way. One that I was excited for, knew I needed, but had no idea where to find it. It has given validation for me to explore my true self. It's given me a bit of a roadmap to start that exploration, and it is just like cracked me open in ways that no work I've ever done before has. And it's been incredible, and it's just so it's really empowering what you do for people. So can we start there, and can you share a little bit about what the Unlock method is and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those words. It's really beautiful and meaningful. I appreciate that. And to be honest, it started because this is what I needed. You know what I mean? It started because I was so intensely curious about myself and my life and how to find alignment and flow and empowerment and self-love. And so this whole journey started because it was medicine that I needed as well. So I call myself an alignment coach. What that entails is I work with people one-on-one. I do work with people in relationships or groups, sometimes business partners as well. But I combine a couple different modalities. Mainly, I combine astrology, human design, numerology, gene keys, astrocartography. Those are sort of the core modalities that I work with. What I do is I meet with somebody beforehand. I talk with them. I ask them what's going on in their life currently. What are they looking for clarity on? Are they looking for more clarity on life purpose, relationships, money, career, all of these things that we all want. And so what I then do is go and do research into their blueprint across all of these different modalities. And really what I'm doing is I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for patterns, energies, and archetypes that show up across all of them. And I've found it to be most powerful when you combine all of these modalities together. And don't get me wrong, I love astrology on its own. I love human design on its own. I have found personally, and then in my work, it's such an incredible amount of impact if we can validate it and cross-reference it across all of these different modalities.
Yes, and that was what interested me in the first place. You hear tidbits from astrology, from human design, from numerology is a newer one to me, and so maybe we can get into that in a little bit and explain to the audience and Maddie what that is. But you really pull them all together. Like, you are a master of your craft. It's like it's so interesting. It's like this like symphony that you're seeing and conducting while you're sharing this information. And like, how the hell? Because astrology on its own is a huge, vast thing to learn. Human design on its own, all of those things are not just like, cool, let me spend a few hours studying this, read a few books, and I got it. Like, you could spend a lifetime in any single one of those. So what was your path to this? How have you mastered this? Like, how has this all come together for you?
I love that question. Couple different answers to that. First of all, I've been researching these modalities and learning about them myself for like around 25 or so years. Very, very long time spent researching.
So since birth, basically.
I think
you look like you're about 26. So.
I know, but I'm older. I'm older than both of you. I'm 39. I'm an 84 baby. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, still, that's still a very early, like, that's a lot of time in what I think is still a short life to be.
100%. And again, the funniest thing is this is all validated in my own blueprint with my Sagittarius South Node, which is the eternal seeker, somebody that wants to understand the world. So I've been studying these modalities for a very, very long time. The other thing I would say to that is that I've always had the ability to synthesize sort of large swaths of information and kind of boil them down into something that's clear and understandable. The other thing I would say about that is it's a combination of logic and left brain and right brain sort of creativity emotion, tapped in, spirituality, and it's the synthesis of those two things that I think allows me to really tap in and help people, because
Yeah.
it's not only just looking at the patterns and the left brain logic part of it. I also am tapping into my intuition and right brain and intuitively channeling in downloads, questions, things that I see in the chart to bring up for people that helps again with clarity and illumination. So
Yeah, I love that, and that feels very true. But how did you? It's not like you graduated high school and you were like, "All right, cool, I'm off to learn astrology and human design and numerology so
yeah.
that someday I can create this business." Like, how did you get? Like, what was your human experience to get to this place?
I love that. Again, this all started because it was medicine that I needed. So this was a journey of trying to understand myself, the people around me, and the world around me. So it's something that I've been always inherently, naturally, and curious about. So I was reading it and researching it on my own, but I did live like a somewhat traditional human experience journey to get here. Went to college, joined a fraternity. After college,
Oh
moved to
my
New York.
God, no way.
Yeah, I swear to God. I mean, listen, I wasn't necessarily your most typical frat boy, but like, I was, I did the things. And again, it's so funny because this is all in my blueprint. Like, that I am, like, I was living out old patterns from previous lifetimes and just ingrained from me in early this lifetime, like to do the traditional path. So, joined a fraternity. After college, moved to New York and worked in finance for a couple years after college. And it got to the point where I was in New York, and it was a great job. It was a great job that paid well and all of these things, and on paper everything was great. But my inner knowing, my soul was like, this is not aligned for me. This is not proper for me. I don't feel fulfilled doing this, and I cannot see myself doing this work or living my life in an unexamined way, unilluminated way, unaligned way for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I made a very hard, conscious decision to leave that version of my life behind. I quit my job, which my friends and family were like, what the hell are you talking about? And I was like, I gotta just do this. And I went traveling for a little bit, and I moved back. I came back to the US and just decided to move to LA. Again, because I had an intuitive knowing. I had never been to LA before. I did not. I had a few friends from
I
high
love
school and
that.
college here, but I was like, for some reason, I feel like I have to be in LA. There's something there for me. And not only that, it was like getting out of my comfort zone. I needed to leave behind my comfort zone on the East Coast.
How now you speak so certain about these things. Does that certainly come in hindsight or in the moment where you like, cool, I'm getting these pings, I just need to follow my intuition, the universe has my back. Like, how did it feel
God.
in the moment?
I love that question. No, no, I'm like the most neurotic Virgo overthinker, questioner. Like, is this right? Should I do this? It sometimes takes me a long time to make a decision. Everybody makes decisions in different ways. Everybody's blueprint is different. I have some Aries clients, manifestor clients that like they get a ping and they'll go. For me, it takes a little bit of time for me to process it and
Yep.
integrate it and feel it in my body, and then I'll take action. I would say hindsight, is there certainty? Absolutely, because I see the patterns that come together. Again, something interesting about this journey. Um, Again, as I was doing this research and as I started learning about astrocartography, and astrocartography is built on top of astrology. Astrocartography is the astrology of physical location and place. And so it shows around the map and around the globe certain energies that you're swimming in certain locations.
Yeah,
LA
that's cool.
happened to be the most activated place for me in the United States, which is like analyzing it again now, it's exactly the energies that I needed to be swimming around in and experiencing to heal, to grow, to up level, to expand. So,
Yeah.
Wait, did you know that before you made the decision, or then that
No.
was validation afterwards?
that was the
Oh.
validation afterwards. Yeah,
And then it's like you followed that energy and it was true. It's
exactly.
like, oh, what
And
proof?
that's what, yes. That's what helps us
I
trust ourselves. That's what also helps us trust our intuition, you know?
You're like building the muscle of
Exactly.
intuition.
Yeah.
Because that's a big part of it that I always think about with this type of thing, right? Like you can sort of you can let it guide you, or you can sort of just let it, I don't know, give you hope or something, and then you just follow the energy, which is the ultimate thing. We have to learn to trust our intuition because we're never really going to
Yes.
know exactly. But to look back and have that validation is almost like, oh, that helps.
1000%.
Yeah, and that's where, I mean, I have so many questions for you around
Please, I love questions.
the birth chart work, but let's
Yeah.
explain like very quickly
Yeah.
for our audience what is a birth chart exactly?
Yeah, so a birth chart is in relation to astrology. It is an exact snapshot of the sky, the planets, the universe when we were born, based off of the date that we were born, based off of the time of day we were born, and based off of the physical location that we were born. So it is an exact snapshot of the energies that were swirling around in the universe when you were born. It's I like to call it like the blueprint of your soul. Some people
Mm,
resonate with like operating manual if we want to think about it more in those terms.
yep.
Yeah. So
I
yeah,
love that. And let's go from the operating manual
yeah,
place because that feels very logical and grounded, right? And who
yeah.
doesn't want an operating manual? And kind of for me, the experience was once I got this operating manual, and it's a lot of information. So we've been working together for 5 or 6 months. I'm still digesting it all, and it's
Totally.
going to be a journey. But once I got this operating manual, it was like, what the fuck? Like, why? How could I have known where I was going without this for 30 some years? Um,
Exactly.
so tell us a little bit about like what having that information can do for someone or what you've seen it do for your clients.
It's the most empowering, validating, confirming thing. And again, I'm speaking for that personally, and I'm speaking to all of the
Mm-hmm.
clients that have given me that feedback as well. It's it makes it puts so much in perspective, and things make sense. Like you
Yeah.
look back on your life, you look back on your relationships, you look back on your interactions, you look back on the things that you were interested in, you look back on the things that happened to you, and you're like, oh, it doesn't necessarily like explain it, or it doesn't validate it, but it puts it in context of understanding so that we have this level of awareness and consciousness. And again, it then allows us to move forward in our lives in a way that is aligned for us so that we feel like we're fully lit up, like we feel like we're fully expressed in an authentic way. Yeah, it sort of it lifts the veil. That's one way to put it, you know.
Yeah, and I'll just share for some of my experience. I mean, it's the experience again in a few short months. It's been a vast array of things, but just forcing me to recognize some of the stories my brain has been telling versus what I'm actually meant for, what my blueprint actually says. For anyone who knows a little bit about astrology out there, I'm a double Cancer. So Cancer Sun, Cancer Moon, and I'm an Aries rising. Which is what everyone would guess is that I have fire um, in my flow, but double water sign Cancer I've never related to. We had this conversation when we first started talking. I was like, how am I a double Cancer? I'm not sensitive. I'm not, you know, I mean, Maddie, you can validate this, like probably more than most people that know me. Like,
The
not
toughest woman. That's what you give off. You give off this like tough exterior, which we've talked about this. Yeah, I was like, whoa, Brooke doesn't show stress. She doesn't show emotion. Like I wouldn't even know what she's going through. And now it's like her little baby is like coming out and she's like, now I get to reveal myself. It's like I can let this emotion out.
How cool. How cool.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it gave me the permission to be like, oh no, I actually am and want to be really soft and loving and show the people I care about love and affection. And it's going to be very weird for them, you know, other than my husband and my daughter, they see it on a very clear level. But
Yeah.
like, it is going to be interesting for the people in my life who have seen this harder version of me. But like you said, it gives permission to live authentically and to question like, wait a minute, why haven't I been that way, or
Exactly.
what's been blocking? And that was a huge thing for me, blocking, like, oh, I now see the walls I have up, and now I can dig into the reason for those walls and finally work through letting them go. And it's
Yeah.
so freeing and transformative, and like I could cry because it's just like,
Oh,
man, in a few short months, like I've just stepped into a whole different version of myself that I'm so excited about, and feels so much more natural and like in flow with the energy of the universe versus this like pushing and grinding energy that I had felt for 30 some years.
I see it
And
in you. I mean, and that's, yeah, sorry, just I see it in
No,
your energy. And that's one of the beautiful things that in this work is I see my clients, you know, change and grow and progress. And like you today you're radiant, you're glowing. Look at you with your new incredibly, like the pink hair is just, you've unlocked even a whole new level and phase of yourself, and it's just like so incredible to see. And you've done the work. Like that's the thing, it's like, you know, it does take some self-reflection, it does take some integration, it does take some willingness to really look at the things that have been harder and darker. A lot of this is about integration, exactly like you just said. It's like, you know, there were parts of yourself, of your blueprint, that you weren't utilizing, and maybe they were being rejected, or maybe they were being hidden, or maybe they were being protected from something that happened in the past, or whatever it was, you know. And that's what we do in my work, is kind of uncover those things into why. But this is about now living a fully integrated life, accepting all of us, and again, it allows us to move forward in our life in alignment and with awareness, with a new level of consciousness, and empowered, which I know you said earlier,
Yes.
and I think is such an important part of this as well. So, yeah. Sorry, Maddie, I didn't mean to cut
Yeah.
you off before. Yeah,
no, that's beautiful. Wow.
yeah.
I see it too. I see it too. And stepping into motherhood, I think has been such a huge, it's softened you as well. And you're like allowing
Yeah.
that, letting it in.
Well, and that's something I want to talk about with the birth chart. You know, motherhood just opens you up in a whole different way, and you see this human, you see this soul shaping into a human in front of your eyes. And one thing it's really represented for me is like, holy shit, we start off perfect. Like all of us, we start off perfect. And then Maddie and I have talked about this a lot, and to the stuff we're trying to break down, and then we're conditioned into this version that we are now. And I've said many times along my journey, like, man, I knew myself, like when I was younger, I understood the world so much better. I knew so much more when I was younger. And we're really lucky to be in an, you know, in a time and a place and in a generation where we are digging into these things, asking the questions. We have the tools, we have the learnings, we have the resources, we have the internet at our fingertips, you know,
Yeah.
all of the things where we can start to ask the question and learn these things. And you had mentioned it before, you look back and it all starts to make sense. But what power could there be in understanding your birth chart from day one?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
This is something
because
that I'm incredibly passionate about. And I was just kind of, again, working through and thinking about, it's something I think about almost every day in my work. Because I also think that's part of what's going to be happening with this transition of Pluto into Aquarius, and us coming into this new age of Aquarius, which is about information and expansion and consciousness. It will change everything. I mean, it will change everything.
Yeah.
It'll change society. It'll change the way that we live. It'll be a more conscious and aware society. I mean, ideally, less war, less poverty, less mental illness, all of these things. Because, well, first of all, just to go back a couple steps here, I think it all starts with ourselves. So it's our, you know, it starts within first. And so then if we do decide to become parents, I think it's so important that that's an important part of it. It's like, you are now a conscious human and a conscious parent bringing a child into the world. And let's say if you know your child's blueprint, and again, it's interesting. I don't view any of this as prescriptive, and so it should never be restrictive. It shouldn't ever be like, oh, well, my child is a Sagittarius, so they must do X, Y, and
Right,
Z,
right.
or they're a reflector, so they must act this way. It's more just so that you can offer support and love and care so that the child can grow and learn and develop, knowing that it's like they're perfectly designed as they are. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
love
my
that.
take on it. What's what's your what are both of your takes on that?
Yeah, I think like it's just like understanding a child's like education style and how they receive information and how they need to be treated. Maybe they need things to be like really laid out clearly, or maybe they just need to be given more freedom just to like play around and understand that more so you can give kids an opportunity to feel supported in the way that they need to learn and process the world so that they don't learn to think that they're dumb, or they don't learn to think
Yeah.
that they're naughty, or all of these things where actually if they were just understood they could totally shine just for who they are. And I think it takes us such
100%.
a long time to learn that because we go through the pressures of school, of being neat, you should go to college, and it's just those expectations of all being like fitting the textbook.
Yes. Sometimes with our parents in that generation and even the generation before that, I'm just like, what the fuck, you guys? Like, why? Why were you this way? And why did you treat us as kids this way? But I'm also, you know, also for our generation, like those triggers, that trauma is a catalyst for change. And you have to have some empathy or sympathy for them. Like they didn't have the tools. A lot of it was survival mode. Like we are in a time where we're not in survival mode, and how,
Yeah.
or most of us have the luxury of not being, we know where we're going to sleep, we know how we're going to feed ourselves, we have the basics covered, and so get to have the time and space to do this work. And so try to be more grateful for that than annoyed at my parents and family members.
Totally.
But now having a kid and knowing how these tools have impacted me so much and will continue to as I learn more about them and explore them, there's no way I can't show her these things and apply them to her and use the knowledge and tools in my parenting. And I feel like anyone who's doing this work or on this journey will feel that same way. And so it's just something that's going to happen, kind of like
Yeah.
you said, it's just going to happen naturally. Like
100%.
we are in a new time and phase and chapter of how things will work on this
Yeah.
planet.
Some of my favorite sessions are actually with parents who want to talk about their children's birth chart and blueprint, because it's just so empowering and enlightening and so nice to be part of that process of conscious parenting and knowing that that child is going to be supported the best that they can. But something interesting that I want to bring up that you mentioned earlier, and the older generations, again, with the invention of the internet, like we have access to information and people on such a wider scale than they did, that like it's almost impossible to fathom how much more information we have access to on this realm, in this world. And it's funny because I've even been seeing it with my clients and in sessions, especially with people that are Gen Z. So clients that I have that are like 18 to I'm not sure when the cutoff is, like maybe like 26 or something, 25, 26. They are very well versed in a lot of these in psychology, in somatics, in astrology. Like
Yeah.
it's fascinating having conversations with people that are that young, that are so well versed in these modalities. And
That's cool.
it's fascinating. Yeah, it's really interesting. So it's already happening, it's already
That's
happening.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, by the time Bowie's my daughter's generation gets to that stage, they're going to be just like levitating across the earth.
Totally.
Eric, is it that you think it keeps, like, each of these modalities keep developing, like more information comes out on it, or are there like new modalities coming out, or is this like the way it will always be, these modalities?
I think, oh no, 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 no. Oh my God. I think it's all always changing. I mean, listen, there are parts of astrology that are so vital to it now that are still relatively new discoveries, like like Pluto is a relatively new discovery because it was just discovered not that long ago. Chiron is a relatively new discovery in astrology and astronomy. And so the way that those archetypes and patterns play out in the collective and on the individual are all new and constantly evolving. Human design is a very new modality. Yeah, I believe it was channeled in about like 1987 or so.
I was going to say it was in the 80s, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And now granted, like it is based off of these ancient modalities such as astrology and the I Ching and Kabbalah, but the way that he synthesized it into this new modality is new. And yeah, I think it will be constantly changing and evolving. I also draw on, those aren't the only things that I draw on. Like, again, I draw on things that I've learned over my whole journey of this, and like the chakras and Buddhism and energy work and somatics and things like that. So I like to draw from a wide variety of resources. And then the other thing I will say about that is like, I'm still learning new things about my own birth chart. I think this is a constant journey of exploration,
Oh, yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah, but I
yeah.
love the way you work, and that's why I feel so so trusting and so safe in your hands. And also, like, you know, I don't use the term guru loosely. You know, I believe, as you know, I believe we are each our own gurus, but you are a guru, and that's the only word I can really come up with to fit what you do. And the fact that you have such a broad compass to explore and funnel everything through is a really, really incredible piece of your work. And also in your work, you encourage your clients to, like, here's the information, but it's up to you to take what feels right and what doesn't. It's not like you're coaching, this is the direction that your life needs to go and this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I really love that because it puts the power in where it should be, you know, in our hands. But it is a thing of like, hey, there's no easy fix here. You have to show up. You can have the information. You have to show up and do the work to make the information work for you, process the information. Like, and to your point, it is a forever journey.
Yes.
There's no like moment where you're like, cool, I'm good. I'm
100%.
transformed. I'm evolved.
100%. And I love that you said that. I think this is a really interesting topic because there are what's called astrological ages, and we are now they're around 2,000 years long. So we're coming out of the age of Pisces and moving into the age of Aquarius.
Oh, cool.
So here's the interesting thing, you know, the age of Pisces was the rise of all of these major world religions, you know, that we've seen right now. And it was also the age of the guru. And sort of the theory behind it is that it was the age where we externalized our power. We gave our power to a guru or a religious leader or somebody outside of ourselves. And you know, you can debate until the day, you know, forever, and whether that was successful or not successful or whatever. We are moving into an era of time, like you just mentioned, where we are all meant to be our own guru, and we are all meant to individuate and find our authenticity and find our power. So I resonate more with that. Like I don't view myself as a guru whatsoever. I would more describe myself as like a teacher or a guide, because exactly like you just said, first of all, I don't want that power over anybody. Like that's not my goal at all. And like you mentioned, like in the way that I work, I don't tell people what to do, which is a form of power, you know? And again, I don't think that's helpful for my client, and it's also not helpful for me. It's just a way to teach and guide and show so that you feel empowered to make your own decisions that are correct and aligned for you. And I'm here as a guide and as a resource and a space holder and a teacher, you know.
The word, you know, we use the word empowerment a lot, but it's such a gift to feel empowered. And when you feel empowered, like there's nothing you can't do. Everything then becomes figure outable, you know? But to go back to, I want to like kind of put some bullet points to, I know we just talked about a 200-year phase.
Yeah.
Let's dial it down to a one year.
Yeah.
2024. And let's like put some bullet points, some digestible bullet points to what can the what are the themes?
Yeah.
What can the collective expect
Yeah.
for this year?
Good question. There's a couple main overarching themes. First of all, 2024 is going to feel very different than the last 4 to 5 years. Thank God, right?
Thank God.
Thank God. Thank God. It's going to feel very different. I'd say the overarching reason for that is because Pluto will be moving into Aquarius. We have been being ground down to our foundations with this Pluto transit over the last 5 years. So with it moving into Aquarius, it will feel a lot lighter, less karmic, less heavy. One of the major key themes of this, which we've all touched on a bit already, is like Aquarius is the archetype of the genius, the innovator, the rebel, the iconoclast, the creative one, the one that's like revolutionary and progressive ideas, concerned with like community and collective and humanity. And it's interesting because Aquarius has a dichotomy. While it is like somebody that or the archetype of being very concerned about like the community and the collective and humanity, it also is meant to be an individual. So to find your truth, your authenticity, your individualism, so that you can then bring that medicine back to the collective. So we're going to start seeing people just kind of letting it rip and like I know, like I've kind of been saying, it's like a funny saying, it's like let your freak flag fly. Like who are you? What have you been hiding? What have you been repressing? This is really what we're breaking free from over the last 15 years and 5 years in particular. So
dude, I am so excited because it brings me so much joy to see people authentically themselves, no matter what it is. And that's kind of the beauty of this all. Like the more we each can dive into that authenticity and like not be afraid to show it, then it just empowers the next person to be like, oh shit, they're themselves. Like I can be myself too. And I'm just so here for it.
Yeah. It spreads like wildfire. And it's so funny because again, I pay such a close attention to patterns, and whenever there's a big transit like this, I start hearing people online or social media or in the public start talking about these themes, even if they don't have a background in astrology. So it'll like it's for anybody listening, like pay attention to this now. And I've even noticed in the last week or two, there's so many people on social media that have been like, I don't really care anymore. I'm just going to talk. I'm just going to share. I don't need to be curated. This doesn't need to be perfect. Like I'm going to just share whatever the heck is on my mind. And I think that's incredibly freeing. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So, well, how do you two feel about that? Because you both have some pretty potent Aquarian placements. Do you two feel ready for that? Do you two feel excited by that? Yeah, I mean, Maddie, you're an Aquarius rising and North Node. You're meant to go even further into this direction. So I'm curious to hear how you both feel about this.
This just feels so aligned. This just makes so much sense. If to say that this is the year to just step into my power, my voice, like to be like care less about, how I'm viewed and just really authentically be myself. This feels like the year. Absolutely. And leverage all the things like, leverage community and just like creativity and things that I didn't ever like focus on or see the importance of as much. Now I'm like, oh no, that is like, that's where the joy comes from. That's what lights me up.
Yes.
So yeah, Eric, everything you're saying is just like, oh my gosh, wow, this is so validating because I knew there had to be something, there had to be some sort of change, and I'm already feeling it. I literally journaled about it last night. I was like, life feels so different now to how life felt a month ago. And it's like to think that, we're moving into this year. It's like, oh my God, what is going to come?
100%. And trust that you will see the effects of that, and there's different ways to communicate that you will be rewarded, that you will see more flow, that you will see more alignment the more and more that you allow yourself to express in that incredibly authentic way. And again, looking at your blueprint, we talked about this the other day when we had our pre-meeting. You have your Chiron in Cancer, which obviously means something. But your Chiron is also in the fifth house, which is the house of Leo, which is the house of creative expression. Now, for everybody listening, Chiron is an important part in the blueprint. It shows where we come into this life with a karmic wound, but it's a karmic wound we are meant to heal so that not only does it become medicine and a gift for ourselves, but it becomes medicine and a gift that we get to offer to other people as well. So it's something that we are meant to look at and transmute, and then it becomes a huge asset for us. And so, Maddie, yours is in the fifth house of Leo, which is all around heart-centered creative expression. So again, the more and more this year that you really lean into just sharing authentically and from the heart, you will be going through this massive transmutation and shift, and it'll be really interesting to see. So,
and I've witnessed Maddie prepping for this the past few months, whether she's known it or not. There was some trauma, some really hard trauma to get through, and seeing the way she handled it and how she knew everything was going to be good on the other side, and knew that it was a moment to address some things and get ready for transformation is really cool. And look, we decided to start a podcast. We are here.
Heck
we
yes.
are ready to show up as ourselves.
Yes.
We're stepping into it. We're not fully perfect or fully grounded or understanding in what's coming, but we are ready to show up and we're here for it. And for me personally, last year was so traumatic and transformative. And
2023 was insane. For anybody listening, just validation, 2023 was freaking intense for everybody. So if you had a rough 2023 where it was intense, you're not alone by any, you're not alone.
Yeah. 2024 is the year the universe apologizes and makes it up to us.
Yes. Literally.
But yeah, I feel kind of like the phoenix rising out of the ashes moment coming. I'm not there yet. But 2023 was treading water, thinking I was going to drown several times, gaining my strength. And now I've washed up on the beach and it's whoa, I'm on this beautiful island. What could it have in store for me?
Yeah.
And that feels, and that's a credit to just being aware, showing up, listening to intuition, getting through the hard stuff. My kind of mantra for last year was the only way out is through.
That's it. I mean, that's the mantra. Yeah.
Yeah. Through sucked. Okay.
Yeah.
Through sucked.
It sucks. It's hard.
But the other side of it, for anyone who's treading water right now, feels like they're drowning, is down a deep dark hole. There will be another side, and man, you'll be so grateful. The triggers that happened for me this past year, I never would have thought I'd say this, but I'm thankful for them.
There's a lesson. There's always a lesson there.
Yeah. And you mentioned Chiron. I want to talk to, so these are some newer things. I think a lot of people in look, it's 2023. Everyone knows their sun sign. I believe. And the moon and the rising probably kind of, or people are starting to get to know, but when in our work together, Chiron, the south node and the north node have been things that are brand new to me, and things that are holy shit, I kind of need to know these. These are great tools for progress and for understanding. So could you mentioned Chiron, can you just do one more high level share on what Chiron is and how it could help someone? Absolutely. And then I'd love to hear about the south node and the north node.
100%. I mean, those three kind of points or placements, I say in my sessions, they're arguably the most important points in not only all of astrology, but the blueprint in general across all of these different modalities, because they are such. Chiron is sort of this key, and it's interesting because the symbol of Chiron it looks like a key. So it's sort of like a key to understanding the blueprint and the birth chart, sort of one of the keys to understanding your operating manual. Because again, what it is it shows where we come into this life with a karmic wound. And so what that means is it what's painful for us? What feels like a wound? What feels like a block? What feels scary? So for instance, Chiron and Gemini, and again, this plays out in all different ways. It depends on what the sign is and what the archetypes of the sign and also the house placement. So it's nuanced, but there's it's so important to learn. So like, let's say Chiron and Gemini. That would mean that there's a karmic wound around using your voice and expressing freely and authentically. And it's a placement that shows up quite often. But what that does is it allows us to examine it. It's like, okay, well, how has that, and this is part of what I do in my work is, I don't just recite what these placements mean. It's so important to put it in the individual context of the human that I'm working with and their own lived experience.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like, okay, well, how did this show up for you? How did this wounding or block around using your voice show up for you specifically in your life? And that's what really helps lead to clarity and illumination, So,
Absolutely.
So I find it really important to dive into the Chiron placement, really kind of go under the surface there of like where those blocks and wounds show up in your life so you can really understand them clearly. And then, we talk about like, okay, well, what are some things that you can do to start transmuting this so that you can heal this karmic wound, heal this block and not have this fear? Yeah.
The value in just acknowledging, like just having the information and acknowledging has been some of the biggest value for me. And I believe my Chiron is in Gemini, right?
Yeah,
so
it is in Gemini. I actually have that one too. I share that one with you. So yeah.
So that's around voice and using your voice authentically and clearly. And so now that I know that, I can bring attention to when that's happening, when I'm feeling insecure around that, or thinking about ways of like how I practice to get better at that. Obviously, starting a podcast, I'm like, cool, this is really going to have me face my Chiron issues dead on and work on those. So just like being able to have the information and acknowledge it is a super incredible tool. So if someone wanted to figure out their Chiron, they could look at their birth chart. And I honestly, the best way to do it is working with you because like you said, there's so many nuances, but like, hey, let's have a simple starting place. Our listeners are listening and they want to know, they're going to hear this information and want to know immediately, how do I find my Chiron? Can you just tell them how to do that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a couple different tools and websites that you can look up online, and even apps. I really like astro.com. It's sort of an older school website, but it's very, very accurate. So it's astro.com and then you go to natal chart ascendant. It's sort of like on the drop down menu and then you just type in your information and all of your placements will show up there. Were you going to say something? Yeah.
It's so perfect, but it's so old school. Like, dude, was that website built in like 1994 and they haven't changed it since?
Like 1991 probably.
So it was the first website on the internet.
Yeah. So one of the first. But I do really like it. I think the information is super accurate. That's also where you can look up your astrocartography as well, just for anybody interested in that. Again, the website is kind of old and weird to navigate, but you go to under the tab AstroClick Travel. That will bring up your astrocartography map. Also, there are some apps that are more current that I like. Time Passages is actually a really great app to learn more about your placements, and that will actually give you more information about all of your placements. So that's one that I really highly recommend as well. So, and then again, good old Google search. Chiron and Gemini, what does that mean? Chiron in the fifth house, what does that mean? Like, there's a lot of different avenues that you can go about researching this.
And
100%.
it's so fun. It's so fun to learn. Like, is there anything like, we're all a little self-absorbed, if not fully self-absorbed. Like, is there anything more fun or interesting than learning about yourself? Like,
no, not much. Not much. It's fascinating. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Okay, now tell us about the South Node and the North Node, because you shared that was one of the things I really wanted you to share with Maddie for her personal journey, because understanding those have been so valuable to me as well.
Yeah. So the North Node and the South Node show our soul's evolutionary path or our life evolutionary path. Again, there's whatever lens you want to look at this through, whether it's a more spiritual way or whether it's more of a kind of logical, grounded, like operating manual type of way. It shows where we're starting from and it shows where we're going. So the South Node is sort of our karmic inheritance. It shows the energy, the archetypes, the patterns that we have, the roles that we have lived out in many previous lifetimes and early on in this lifetime. So again, learning about the South Node is incredibly illuminating because you're like, oh, that's why I like this thing. That's why I've been acting this way. That's why these patterns have shown up in my life. And so we all kind of have to go on this heroine's journey to stretch outside of our South Node comfort zone. I say comfort zone in quotes because sometimes the South Node comfort zone is like, yeah, it's easy, it's cool, and I kind of just want to hang out here. And sometimes it's like really traumatic and hard, but we stay there because it's what we know, you know? So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. It's, to me, it's like a representation of old patterns, right?
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
like, this is what I know, so this is the patterns I'm in. Until, for me, for example, I got to a place in life where it's like, I can't live this way anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know, like, hey, I'm done with my South Node, ready to move toward my North Node. But I knew, like, man, the way that I've lived and the way I've done things, like, is not working anymore.
100%.
I need a change. And that's the journey to the North Node, right?
I love the way that you put that because it's like, if you're feeling lost and if you feel like things are no longer working, that the North Node is like the beacon of light. It's like the soul's or life's, you know, like lighthouse of what we're moving towards. So
I love that.
The North Node is our dharmic path where we're heading. I sometimes like to say, you know, it's the reason that we're here. It's the reason that we're in this body, in this incarnation, in this lifetime with this highly unique blueprint full of all of these gifts at our disposal. It's because our soul wants us to evolve into and experience this North Node energy, which is new for us. So it will feel exciting. It will feel aligned. Will feel lit up by it. There's always this sort of intuitive pull towards it. And so we do, again, have to go on this hero's journey to stretch outside of our South Node comfort zone. And on that journey, on that path, we do face fears, triggers, blocks, wounds that help us grow in awareness and consciousness to help us align and embody our North Node, which will, again, just provide such a sense of like path and purpose and empowerment in this lifetime. So
Look, is there any way to cheat the system? Like, okay, it's too late for me. I'm not asking for myself because it's too late. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done the work. Like, you know, it's too late in life. But like, what if if you knew your North Node from a young age and you're like, cool, I'm going to let go of all the South Node stuff now when I'm 14 and just like do things that get me toward my North Node, like, and cool, I don't have to face the trauma, the triggers, all of the things that previous generations had. I'm just gonna live my life and be in flow.
yeah, well, first of all, yes. I think, listen, if you have this level of awareness and education, is it going to put you ahead of the game? 1000%. But I also do think it's interesting because, again, certain things, certain life events do happen based on certain ages and transits. So is a 14-year-old going to be like, okay, I know that I'm going to exactly follow my North Node and my South Node here? Like, some might, but others might be like, no, get out of here. I'm just going to live my life. Like, what are you talking about? You know?
Good point.
No, but I'm just saying, but what were you going to say, Maddie? Yeah.
Well, as a kid, you just don't have that kind of awareness, and you just have to go on the journey. You have to learn. Like, we wouldn't get to where we are without the hard times. Like, the fact that we can look back on 2023 and be like, that felt like a shitty year, and there were some really big challenges. It has led us to where we are today to be able to show up with the strength that we have. So it's like, it just shapes us, and we have to do it.
1000%. And again, what we were talking about earlier in regards to if you're a parent that understands your child's blueprint and birth chart, I'd say the biggest benefit of that is that you're just showing your child unconditional love and acceptance, and that they are okay and loved no matter what, and that you understand their inherent design and they're free to live that out, obviously with your guidance and support, but like, and so that in and of itself is incredibly freeing, you know, to align with your path and your purpose, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of struggle with this thing that, Maddie brought up, and I even said a few times is like this pride around strength and being strong and being resilient that we all have. And I just, wonder what your thoughts are on like, is it required? Is strength required for the human experience?
That's a very good question. Um, I would say yes. In all of my years of research and self work and even working with clients, and listen, I think there's nuance around the way that we can talk about that. Like, what is
Yeah.
strength? What does strength mean? Is it fortitude? Is it grit? Is it resilience? I think somewhere in that spectrum of understanding of it, yes, I do think that is a very necessary, important part of this journey and process in life. Because listen, there's different theories about why we're here and what the purpose of life is. And part of this purpose of life is that we do go through these challenges and these hard things and these experiences, because what we're doing is we're evolving and we're growing in awareness and we're growing in consciousness. And so it does, like you mentioned, like the only way out is through. It does take strength and grit and resilience and trust to know that you can get through these things and move forward in your life. And that's my deep belief in all of this. That's my deep belief in life. That's part of my core value life philosophy after all of this work and research, is that like we can do this. We can change. We can grow. We can feel aligned. We can feel joy. We can feel love, So
Now let me ask you this.
yeah.
What if this is all coming to me in real time, so
Yeah,
bear with
please.
me.
No, I love it.
What if that is the story that our generation needs to evolve, to get through this? What if that's a story that doesn't need to be true for future generations? Like, and I don't expect you to have an answer to this, because how would we? We don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think it'll be fun to keep an open mind to, especially someone like you who is like seeing the work every single day. Like, what if we don't have to pass that down to future generations? And like, you don't have to have fortitude, strength, grit, resilience to get through this human experience. You can be in flow always.
Yeah.
You can be in flow always. You can be at peace, and everyone can be in flow and at peace. And it's just this whole different way of being, looking at life, experience,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely.
What if that
I think that's a
what if that was
super
possible?
interesting thought experiment. I think it's a super interesting thought experiment. I think right now, based on where we are in terms of like human consciousness and the way that we act with human nature, I think that's something that can be like a guidepost that we want to work toward. You know what I mean? Like, what if we can work towards that? Now, having said that, like another part of this is that we do have to be realistic about life and human nature, because
Yeah.
again, even if there is this extremely high level of awareness and consciousness and embodiment and integration of it, that I have like there will still be heartbreak, there still will be unkindness, there still will be fighting over survival and resources, at least right now, maybe not in the
Yeah.
future, so it's just interesting. I think it's an important thought experiment, and I think it's an important aim to be like, well, how conscious can we get? How aware can we get? How aligned can we all get so that we can work towards this ideal? Yeah.
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 It'll be interesting to see how things can evolve in our lifetime. I don't think we'll get to the flow state or world peace that I'm talking about, but I wonder if we can remove the strength piece. Might be truth. It might be our truth, but it might be a storyline and a truth that we don't have to pass down.
Totally.
I don't know.
Totally.
When you speak about strength, what do you mean? Like in this instance, like is it just like the strength to just like continue on and this like hustle culture or something? Just this like always having to kind of show up and like put on this tough exterior and stay strong and stay brave and like act like everything's okay?
Are you asking me or Eric?
Well, you seem very opinionated about this
I
strength.
do. I know. Wow. I'm sorry, guys. I guess
No,
I think
I
it's a
think it's cool. I think it's a cool thought. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a trigger for me. And I've been thinking a lot about stories we tell, the stories we tell
Mm,
ourselves. And for a lot of us, and even in my communication in this episode, I've like shown this pride and strength.
yeah.
And I guess my thought process here was just like, what if we all weren't so proud of being strong? Or
Mm,
what if we didn't lead? Like, what if that wasn't like a something that shaped who we are, our personality? It wasn't something
mm,
we talked about outwardly. It wasn't like you think of the things that our parents passed down to us that we're
mm-hmm,
like trying to shed and break through. One of them for me is like this idea of like, and for so many of us is like you have to work hard to have like any
mm-hmm,
validation. Like
mm-hmm,
if you're not working hard, you're not worthy. You don't have this validation. And so being very conscious of the stories I pass down to my daughter,
mm-hmm,
who right now is just this vessel of joy, peace, beauty, so in frickin' in flow with life.
mm-hmm,
And really sad around our society's pride around
Mm.
strength. And even us, we're having this very elevated conscious conversation, and
mm-hmm,
strength and pride around strength has come up so much. And it's like, yes, do we use that language to validate us on the other side of hard things,
mm.
and make us feel better or less sad or less heartbroken about the hard things we've gone to? But like, hey, at least I'm strong now on the other side of this.
I think this is such a beautiful part of the conversation. I think it makes complete sense. I think it also goes back to what we were talking about earlier a little bit, Brooke, and even, yeah, I mean, it goes back to, let's even just say using the example of your blueprint and what you mentioned earlier, like, your Aries and how you've really leaned into that like warrior, strong archetype, and that there were the parts of the Cancerian archetypes which is a water sign, which is more soft, which is more emotion based, that weren't necessarily as integrated within you. And so I think what I'm sort of downloading from what you're talking about, which I think is so fascinating and a beautiful part of this conversation, it's like it's almost like the acknowledgement that like it's okay to be both, because I think we do need both. I
Mm-hmm.
think strength is a beautiful thing, but I don't think it should be the only thing. I think that
Yeah.
we can also and should also acknowledge and integrate and be soft and emotional, and that it's okay to go through periods of weakness.
Yes.
We all go through that.
Yeah.
So that's just what's kind of downloading for me.
Replace this language for me, either of you,
Sure.
whichever of you comes. So I've had, very, very back of my head, this voice that came from my parents, my family, and I'm sure you guys will all be familiar with: life is hard.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
Life is hard. And I
mm,
do not want to pass that down to my kid. And I do not
mm,
want to live that way.
mm,
So, what's some language that we can replace it with and believe? Because that's a very believable statement, right?
mm,
Life is hard. Life kind of reinforces that pretty often,
mm,
or can. There's certainly hard things happen in life, but
mm,
like, what's something we can do to let go of that statement and replace it with that's just
mm,
as believable, but is like so much more joyful and exciting and more real?
I love that. Maddie, do you want to go first, or I
Oh,
can go?
it's
I'm
so
happy
many
to go.
things are
Yeah. Yeah.
no, different things are coming, and it's like, how can you? I mean, you could just flip it, right? It's just like
Mm-hmm.
life is beautiful, life is like what you make it. But then it's
Mm-hmm.
like that's so hard to just say that when like people do face really hard things, and you can't always pick what will happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Then like something awful will happen in your life, and it's like, poof. But it's like it's a it's a learning, and it's like there's just growth in it. So it's like hard doesn't mean bad, but like
Mm-hmm.
I mean the word expansive comes to me. It's just like it's kind of just like it's developing, and it's
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I love
that's
it's
that.
re-
interesting.
Well, I think that's like, we're here to grow and to an exp that's part of like this whole soul journey that we're on, and so the things that have been hard are also leading to expanded consciousness, which also expands our capacity to love and accept ourselves and others, I think.
Yeah. I'd be interested to hear from our community if anyone wants to DM if you have the perfect line. For me, just my theme of the year and what came to mind for me, I've been saying to myself, you know, and I haven't put the word life in there, but maybe I will now. Life is limitless.
I love that.
And it feels powerful, it feels big, and it feels good, and it feels like it kind of can encompass all the things that life throws at us. Like there are limitless possibilities kind of in every direction. And now we strengthen ourselves to prepare for that limitlessness in whatever direction it throws at us.
I love that. And here's also the thing. I think what's beautiful is that we all get to define our own story, you know, like what's our own mindset. Like not everybody has to have the same, you know, not everybody does have the life is hard story. Not everybody has the life is limitless story. We all get to choose. I think that's another theme for 2024 with this Pluto into Aquarius. And then we also have Jupiter, which is expansiveness, optimism, abundance, amplification. It's moving into Gemini in May. Gemini is an air sign that rules the mind. It rules thinking, speaking, communicating. It rules stories. So there's a really big opportunity this year to have all of us be able to rewrite any old stories or limiting beliefs that are no longer working, to choose the new ones. So I think that's part of this, is that knowing that we can rewrite and we can choose, and that I do think it is daily active work to keep choosing the new story, to keep choosing that I'm choosing to view life as limitless. For me, when you ask that question, and I think my story that I've been evolving into is life is a gift. Life is a gift.
Yes.
Like
that's good.
Beautiful.
That's why you're you.
Wow. Good
well,
work, Eric.
You know, it's a gift. Like we get to be here. It's part of the journey to experience the full range of the human experience and emotions, from the hardest of the hard to the lightest of the light and the most love. Like that is what we're here to do. And so it is in my view, it's a gift to be able to experience that, to grow, to expand our awareness and consciousness, and to choose to live in a frequency of love.
Yeah. When you can see it.
Mic drop.
Yeah. Wow.
Mic drop.
Thanks.
That's
Thanks.
like perspective changing, because
you.
it's like a gift. So you can handle things that you face along the way, and you can appreciate the beauty in it, because it's like it's all just part of it. It's okay. It's like, how lucky am I that I get to be here and experience
Exactly.
Yes.
Gratitude.
I love that. What's your purpose in life as you know it today, Eric?
Ooh, coming out with the hard-hitting questions.
Just a simple question for you.
What is my purpose as of today? I think my purpose is to, I think it's a multi-layered approach. I think my purpose is to continue my growth and my evolution. I think my purpose is to be of service to myself and to humanity. I think, my purpose is also to be very present and hopefully transmit, loving awareness to people around me. So.
And you're doing it, sir.
I'm trying. Thanks.
I mean, you are doing a great job. You have such an electric personality, and you feel so comforting to talk to. It's like, Eric's got it. Like you're helping people. I feel it.
Thank you. I'm trying. I'm doing my best here. You know, again, like I know I don't have it all figured out. I don't know if I ever will have it all figured out. If any of us will ever have it all figured out. All I know is that I'm passionate about doing my best to try to understand and try to raise awareness and consciousness, and to also help other people on that journey so that they can also feel a sense of alignment, purpose, and self-love. So.
Wow.
Yes, incredible.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Eric, we've got one final question for you.
Yeah. Fire
this
away.
This is a question we like to ask at the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Can you give us a word or a sentence for each for your past self, your present self, and your future self? A word or sentence that describes each of these
Yeah.
stages.
Okay. I would say past self is an insatiably curious seeker wanting to understand myself, people around me, and the world around me. I would say
Whoa.
that. Yeah. And that is how my past self played out. Like I truly was incredibly curious all the time.
Curious people are the best. They're my favorite. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing in life if you are not curious and seeking?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. And thank you for saying that, because I think when I was a kid, I annoyed my parents to death by asking them a million and one questions. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think curiosity and being open to learn is a beautiful thing for all of us to cultivate. So I'd say present is embodiment, integration, presence, being a teacher and a guide and of service. I'd say that probably most accurately describes my present experience. And then future, hopefully just an expansion of that. I would say the words that come to mind are impact, spreading loving awareness, somebody that helps people grow and evolve, and also again know that they are here for a reason, because again I know life can feel hard. I think a lot of us have had that story and have experienced things, but like that life is a gift, and that we are all here for a reason and for a purpose, and that we can come out of whatever hard situation or mindset or experience that we've gone through and transmute it and find alignment, purpose, joy, and a fulfilling life. I truly believe that, and I hope future me is just expanding on that, even further, and hopefully having a wider impact on that. So
Eric, you are living your future self, and like it's only going to get better and more expansive. And yeah, what we really need is just more people to have access to you and your process. So
thank you.
can you tell the people where they can find you?
100%. Well, thank you for giving me a platform, and thank you both for being such beautiful, expansive expander club, expansive mirrors, and humans who are also on the path of starting these conversations and having this platform. It's incredibly powerful and meaningful. So thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
The main way to get in touch with me right now is through Instagram. I'm at the Unlock Method on Instagram. I will have links up there to get in contact with me, to book a session, to email me. But there are some relatively immediate plans to expand and who knows, get my work out there on a wider scale. So
I'm so
keep it
ready for
posted.
this for
Yeah.
you. Like
Wow.
yes,
Yeah.
the world is ready for you. Your time, you are and have such a gift, and like, let's blow it up. Everyone
I love
needs
it.
to know about this.
Oh,
Oh gosh.
thank you.
You've been such a gift in my life. I'm so grateful that Maddie gets to experience you, and our
Thank
community
you.
now gets to experience you. And thank you for
Thank
this
you.
time. Thank you for being you. Thank you for all that you bring to the world.
Thank you. Thank you both for being you. And I'm immensely grateful for this experience. So thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Eric. That was amazing. We loved having you and hearing everything you had to share. Just a reminder, everyone, you can go and follow Eric on Instagram at The Unlock Method, and then also the Expanders Club on Instagram. Follow us, and of course, we would love your support to follow us on your platform of choice to listen, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And personally, you can follow us on our Instagram. I'm at Madeline_Lucy.
And I am at Brooke_Harris official. We love you guys. We hope you enjoy this one. Share it with a friend. Look up your Chiron, look up your North Node, South Node. Have some fun with it. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.